Oh, hi there. Ollie Anderson here. You're listening to Creative Status. This is a podcast about using your creativity to improve your life by growing more real. If you don't know, that just means that you're basically learning to accept yourself unconditionally, accept life where it can't be changed unconditionally, the natural laws, etc. that you need to be aware of, accepting other people so that you can live without friction, frustration, and or misery, and do something that actually matters to you. I'm a creative performance coach. I help people to do that in their lives and businesses. But anyway, each episode of the podcast, I interview somebody who is inspiring, interesting, or any other flattering adjective that you might want to throw at them, about the creative process, about life and the human condition, the lessons we can learn from their experiences about all this stuff that I am currently ranting to you about. Today's interview is with a friend of mine, Sanjivana. He's an ex-monk and a guy who has done a lot of deep meditation, turned inwards, and learned a lot of lessons introspectively about the human condition and what it means to be real in the sense that I'm talking about. This conversation covers a lot of stuff. We talk about enlightenment, what it even means, some of the bullshit that's out there about being enlightened, how people can chase it as kind of an egotistical identity augmentation device. But we also talk about a pathway, a very clear pathway that Sanjivana has picked up that people can follow if they want to move towards wholeness. So obviously that's something I was interested in. So anyway, I'm going to stop ranting and raving, but here's the podcast. Sanji, thanks a bunch for your time. Everybody else, hope you enjoy the episode. If you feel like leaving a review wherever you're listening to this, that would be appreciated. Either way, enjoy the conversation. Have a great day, and thanks a bunch. Oh, hi there, Sanjivana. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Creative Status. I forgot then where I was. You're a very interesting guy, and I feel like we could talk about millions of different things in this conversation. We have a few ideas, but before we start asking you questions and exploring the ultimate reality and creativity and deathlessness and various other things, do you feel like introducing yourself, and can you tell people what you want to get from this conversation? Like, why are you here exploring these things with me today?
Oh, hello, Oli. Thank you very much for having me here. And it's a great pleasure to be here. So I am, many people now call me Sanjivana, and I'm a meditation teacher. So I have been doing this for like 20 years now. So I really want to help more and more people. And along the path also, I was searching for like happiness, peace, and the great questions that were in front of me, in life or the path or the journey. So I was seeking answers. So along the way, there were good things that happened, and then bad things happened. No? Many experiences. No? So and along the way, I was able to help many people. So I want to continue that and help much as people now also, and in the future also.
Yeah, that's amazing. So maybe we should start by keeping it simple and talking about meditation and some of the lessons that you've learned there. Because it seems to me meditation is a very useful tool. I meditate at least 3 times a year, sometimes more. And it seems like on the internet, there's a lot of misinformation about what meditation is. Like, it seems like some people think if they start meditating, they're instantly going to become enlightened. They're going to have no more problems. Everything is going to be just magical and amazing all of the time. And maybe that's not necessarily true, because in my experience, so maybe I'm wrong, it seems like meditation is really just about changing the way that you experience your experiences. So you can still feel bad things if you're a meditator, but they just won't be quite as bad because you're a little bit less attached to what's going on and your ideas about yourself and all that kind of thing. So anyway, that's my thoughts about that. But how do you see meditation now after, 20 years of teaching it and doing it? And what are some of the common misconceptions that people have?
Oh, exactly, Oli. Like it is like a climbing a holy mountain.
Wow.
So each
Wow.
step counts, right? And you
Yeah.
have to climb, and climbing
Wow.
up a mountain is not a simple thing, no? So
No.
you need the perseverance, you need the continuity, no? And you need the
Mm.
proper direction.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then before that, you should have a proper map for that matter. And
Mm.
if you have some things to carry around, then to get some energy, or if you are thirsty, and
Mm.
that will be
Mm.
much more helpful.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are
Wow.
many misconceptions. For myself also, I went to many like detours, wrong turns,
Mm.
pitfalls, and
Mm.
they sometimes told I was even enlightened at some points. But luckily, yeah, really, and I also for some extent believed because we were trying very hard, no,
Yeah.
and.
Yeah.
But
Wow.
luckily, I was like always comparing with the ancient teachings. I read many things, and in those things when you compare, and after some time, because when you try very hard also, your mind comes to a stage that all these kind of things like anger and
Mm.
like
Mm.
greed
Mm.
or delusion, these are the main three culprits, and
Mm.
they seem
Mm.
suppressed and suppressed for long periods. So people
Mm.
actually think they are enlightened even.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but if he can have a proper path and a proper
Wow.
practice, and the
Yeah.
continuity is direct experience.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
since you asked like what is meditation and all, it is a
Mm.
process we do. Like
Mm.
all the
Mm.
things we do in day to day life. When we were
Mm.
born, we didn't know
Mm.
any of these things, right?
Mm.
So we had
Mm.
there was a process that we have to learn everything from eating, even standing up,
Mm. Mm.
cleaning,
Mm.
no, look, even
Mm.
move the movement of our eyes. huh?
Mm.
So in day
Mm.
to day life also we are able, even the things we are doing, even the topics we are talking now, even the
Mm.
school times and everything, even crossing a road, right?
Yeah.
But and over the years, what we did was we did in a way, yeah, that is also kind of mindfulness. But
Mm.
in the end of the day, or after many years, what we realize is we continue this pattern, but it doesn't bring us true peace or happiness, or it doesn't
Mm.
last. So now
Mm.
that's why we are trying to find a pattern or a direction, or we are trying to work upon something that can bring us more permanent happiness, permanent
Mm.
peace.
Mm.
So it is like the
Wow.
wheel was rotating, and it started rotating after some time, and it was touch
Mm.
and go. No, you keep
Yeah.
rotating this wheel, but later at
Wow.
some point, it could be in your young stage or middle stage, or even when you are elder. You
Mm.
understand, oh, maybe this is not the way. Then
Mm.
you want to rotate it to the opposite. No? Uh,
Yeah.
and then but for that first you need some effort, to, because you have been turning this wheel all these years, no,
Mm.
in your
Mm.
life.
Mm. Going
And
through the
talking,
motions.
yeah, and some people think like it is something like a effect that you take some intoxications or some things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
you have this wow effect, no, you take some drugs or something, and but this is not, because when you take something like that externally, you have to depend on that, and you need
Mm.
more higher dosages of that.
Mm.
But
Mm.
here what
Mm.
we are doing is we are using, because the mind has positive and negative things already installed. It
Mm.
has so ample capacity. So all
Wow.
from the past lives, yeah, there are special people, but they had already done, if you believe in past life, the hard work before.
Mm.
So for
Mm.
them, it is like a simple thing, no? It is like
Yeah.
asking like a genius to solve a math problem, because they
Mm.
had done it before, right? Maybe
Mm. Mm.
thousands of times. But
Yeah.
for somebody, they also have to start and go in their journey, or we never know where they are at on their journey, because
Mm.
all this stuff is covered by the things we
Mm.
do in day-to-day life and in
Mm.
this life. It's like a layer of
Mm.
dust covering a
Mm.
huge treasure.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, so if you
Yeah.
can dust it off, that is the main reason we are trying to do the meditation, and
Wow.
dust it off. So all
Wow.
this potential, all this capacity, all this positivity, love, kindness, you name it, all the
Mm.
good things can
Mm.
re-emerge.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
So you've said so many interesting things there. And I think that final metaphor you just used is a very quick way to understand what meditation actually is, right? So ultimately, it's not a tool for just relaxing. It's not a tranquilizer to hide from all your emotional pain. It's a
Uh-huh.
way of clearing out the dust so you can raise awareness and see clearly. And when you raise awareness and see clearly, that's when you can put yourself on this path that I'm always talking about on this podcast
Uh-huh.
of moving from a state of fragmentation and disconnection to a state of wholeness where you have awareness of what's real, you accept it, and you can move with it instead of against it because the dust or the veil or whatever isn't stopping you from flowing in the way that you need to. So, based on what you said, I have, I think, three questions for you now, right? So we'll go through them one by one. The
Uh-huh.
first is about the map. So I just said, ultimately, I think the map for all of us is going from a state of fragmentation to wholeness. And
Mhm.
meditation is just one creative tool that we can use to do that.
Uh-huh.
So we'll talk about that. Then you mentioned these three things that can get in the way for people, which I think
Mhm.
are examples of fragmentation. I think you said anger, greed,
It.
and delusion. So
Uh-huh.
I think we should explore that a little bit. But then
Okay.
also there's this idea of enlightenment and
Uh-huh.
how people become attached to that. Like there are so many people, especially in like the self-help community or in the spiritual community or whatever community you want to call it, online, where their ultimate aim is to become enlightened, but it's actually a goal that they've set themselves because of their ego stuff. So actually,
Mhm.
that goal is never going to get them where they want to be because it's always
Uh-huh.
a conceptual thing rather than an experiential thing. So let's break those three things down, right? The map, the anger, the greed, and the
Okay.
delusion, and then why people are so bothered about being enlightened and they become so attached to it that they're basically always going to be covered in dust in the way that you were talking about, right? So,
Uh-huh.
what is
Uh-huh.
this map that you were talking about, sir? So you said there's a
Okay.
map.
Yeah.
What is that? What is it?
So map means like it is not the journey itself, but it's a clear indication. No, if the map and the
Mm,
details are proper, the
mm,
journey is much easier. No, otherwise you have to figure your way out. Huh?
yeah,
Or
yeah,
then,
yeah.
so this is a map or a way or a pattern that has been used for thousands of years, or
Wow.
like, or we
Yeah,
can say aeons of time actually, yeah,
yeah,
to be
yeah.
honest. And this is like
Wow.
nothing. Some people say like they brought up something, but no, this
Mm,
had been there, huh?
mm,
And then
mm, mm.
somebody rediscovers, but it is the same thing that had been already there. It's like a road that was covered by the
Wow.
bushes and forest.
Yeah,
Some
yeah,
brave guy
yeah.
comes and seeks, and he clears the path, no, and he
Wow.
says like, okay, but I cannot carry you, no, so you have to go.
Mm,
Because
mm,
you are the one who put yourself in the situation, right?
mm,
Huh?
mm,
So the
mm.
map is, there's a beautiful example only. There, I'll just mention it. It's a long one, but
That's okay.
it's like a king who has to go on a journey. These are ancient examples. Huh? So this
Yeah.
king has to go on a journey, and
Awesome.
but he has to use 7 chariots.
Right.
Okay, so
Yep.
one can take to one extent, and after that he has to get on to the other.
Mm,
Huh? So
mm, mm,
likewise on this
mm,
spiritual journey, a very easy, because for myself also I didn't, some places they say you just practice. No, we were like really practicing hard. One sitting was even without any concentration, we used to sit for like 5 hours. And
mm,
then just I'm just telling all the people who were like there,
mm.
and we didn't have nothing. Our knees were sore and so painful. After 3 hours, you would go like into all the pains, and after 5 hours, you'll go into like flight mode. But this is not the
Wow.
way. And
Yeah.
then some places we practice like continuously. I'm being 100% honest, like for
Mm,
12 hours consistently.
wow.
And some days there were days we didn't even we those days we had just one meal, but some
Mm,
days we didn't even take that meal. We continued, and a good day for us was like 12 hours or more
wow.
continuous practice. Huh?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Uh, Coming back to this map, one big issue we had was like, or I had for that matter, I didn't know how far I came, where I stood,
Mm,
and how far
mm.
I should go. No, if you
Wow.
are even
Yeah.
going to a city, you should know, right? Even by
mm,
sky or walking or on a bike or a car, you should know,
mm.
no, where in the world you are standing upon, right? How
Yeah,
far you
yeah,
came, no? So the
yeah.
clear and the best path indicates and shows you exactly where you are. You are not lost.
Mm,
And you
mm,
don't have to like rely on some person to say, okay, you are now enlightened. I give you
mm.
this. No, it's nothing like that. It's a
Yeah,
direct experience because people
yeah.
do this. They give written certificates even for money only.
Mm,
It's
mm,
so
mm.
crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
because the people are so motivated, it's a very bad thing in a way. Because
Mm,
people, they want something different. They are tired of materiality and all this world
mm,
or the
mm,
rat race,
mm,
no?
mm,
So some
mm.
people market this, and they try to like this
Yeah,
in many countries or many places you see, and when you talk to them, oh no, it was a
mm,
total different thing.
yeah,
But the
yeah,
real path is very simple, very straightforward, and the best thing is you know where you are. So coming back to that story, the
yeah.
seven chariots, okay, I can
Mm,
just mention you. One is
yeah.
like you have kind of morality. Huh?
Mm,
That's the
mm,
first chariot. Anything like
mm.
if a man does horrible things like killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and all this stuff, the
Yeah,
mind is too dark. So
yeah.
you have to have some kind of morality, uh,
Mm,
or some
mm,
sense of decency. Okay, not
mm,
about your past, but the present.
mm,
From now
mm,
on, I won't do
mm.
this. So
Yeah,
that makes a clear way in your mind. That is chariot number one.
yeah,
Huh? So
yeah.
number two is we have this kind of, it's like launching a rocket, Oli. So
Wow.
when you're launching a rocket, you need all the stuff, right? You
Mm,
need like a launching pad, this all this crew, and then you have these fuel rockets and everything just to
yeah,
pass the G force, right? You need
yeah, yeah,
tremendous power. So
yeah.
likewise, there is an obstacle in our mind we call the five hindrances. These are like
Mm,
blockages. They are not so ruthless like greed, hatred, and delusion. They are like the henchmen of those.
mm,
Uh, so in our ordinary life as well as meditation, soon as or another good definition of meditation is like I spoke to another student also today, like meditation is like a microscopic view of our life.
mm. Wow.
Yeah, it's like that. Huh?
Mm, yeah.
So if we are a person who get agitated in our normal life, uh,
Mm,
you can
mm.
see this the same habitual pattern in your meditation also. So
Yeah.
it's a easy
Wow.
fix from there
Yeah.
because
It's like
so
holding a mirror. It holds a mirror to you.
yeah, like, exactly, and
Yeah.
you can fix it easily uh,
Wow.
from there. So coming back to the chariots, number
Yeah.
two is we have to bring a more stronger force or positive force which we call concentration.
Yeah.
This is the total opposite. So if anybody is interested or anything, I can tell detail because by detail and specifics, they are
Mm,
clearly
mm,
shown in the ancient teaching. This is for this, and the opposite of
mm.
this is this. So you build up this factor. It is clearly
Yeah.
shown.
Yeah.
For me, I
Yeah.
always wanted like proof, not just because it was in a book or told by
Mm,
someone or some
mm,
religion. No,
mm,
because
mm, mm.
I wanted to have that experience, right? So
Yeah.
for somebody who's really they should get the true experience. They are
Mm,
entitled for that because
mm,
of the sacrifice or the devotion or any kind of thing they are offering.
mm,
So
mm.
so the number three one is like, okay, this will be a answer for your third question, Osole. We call them ultimate realities. They are the
Yes.
ingredients for uh,
Yeah.
to seek the reality. So very
Mm,
simple. Now is the kind of confusion or the entanglement
mm,
because we have so many things going around.
mm,
So when we come to ultimate reality, it's just mind and matter. So
mm,
wherever we are from, whatever age or country or anything, gender, all these things, they just disappear when you talk about mind and
mm,
matter. That is
mm,
so simple. So
mm,
these are the basic ingredients we are using to go upon seeking this ultimate truth.
mm,
Okay. So that is
mm,
chariot number three. Number four is you start using these ingredients. You get to know
Wow.
these ingredients very well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then a lot of doubt disappears because you are really feeling them, no, you are really
Yeah.
experiencing them. So
Yeah.
still it is not vipassana or any inside deep meditation, nothing like that. Okay, this is
Mm.
just these just basics. And
Mm.
then there are some stages you can even trace your past lives even, anybody can do if they have the requirements. Okay,
Mm.
so
Mm.
number 5 is the time you
Wow.
we start using these ingredients, and then
Mm.
we slowly start using this in, we call them insight meditation. Okay,
Mm.
so
Yep.
insight meditation is like really seeing what we are, not these outer frames, no, that this is
Mm.
called concept. This is
Mm.
this
Yeah.
is also reality. We
Yeah.
don't deny that, we don't deny
Mm.
that, but there's something more to it.
Mm.
Okay, so
Mm.
then in the number 6 is the time we really dig in deep. So you can take your mind to very subtle, very minute stages, and
Mm.
not only that, you can see the real situation or what is really happening. We are not getting involved, we don't do nothing in that matter, we just
Mm.
let the occurrence or things to just happen. So
Mm.
when you see
Mm.
that, you realize that they materiality or mentality, they don't stay forever. They
Mm.
arise and they perish. Huh?
Mm.
And even
Mm.
the mind is more faster. Mind is the one that says, okay, your body is permanent, your money is permanent, your car is permanent, no? Or even
Mm.
if you take in a subtler ways, these four elements, no, like earth, wind, water, fire. You are the
Mm.
eye door, you are the ear door, nose door, tongue door, body door, no? You are this,
Mm.
no? This is your
Mm.
soul. But when
Mm.
you see that the mind, it
Wow.
perishes more faster than the materiality.
Wow.
Uh, so that doesn't make us negative or anything. So
Mm.
here, these are like really, really profound and deep stages which
Mm.
we have to go through with
Mm.
very good concentration as well as very, very powerful mindfulness.
Mm.
And
Mm.
then number 7 chariot is the time we really reach our destination. I- uh, People call it enlightenment. Some people call it Mahasamadhi. Some people call it Brahman. They can name it
Wow.
any way you like, but we
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
say it is total happiness and peace,
Wow. Yeah.
unshakable.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this is the
Wow.
map.
Okay. So the map, like you've said, is obviously it's better to have a map than not to have a map. And the thing I
Uh-huh.
like about this particular map that you just shared is what you said at the start. It's thousands of years old. That doesn't
Definitely.
mean that it's true just because it's old, but it
Uh-huh.
means that it's pointing us towards some fundamental thing about human experience that has not changed. And this is something I'm really interested in. I think there's a universal truth and a universal
Mhm.
way of living that applies to all human beings that have ever lived and that ever will live. Because even though
Uh-huh.
technology changes around us, even though the world changes around us, reality itself never does change. And reality
Mhm.
ultimately is that we are not the ideas or the concepts that we carry and attach to, but that we are the experience ultimately of life experiencing itself and expanding towards more wholeness. So, a few questions I've got about the map based on that. Uh,
Uh-huh.
is there a difference between the third stage of kind of finding ultimate reality and enlightenment? Because the way I've always thought about this is
Uh-huh.
that enlightenment ultimately, I'm not saying I'm not enlightened, but the way I've always thought about it is enlightenment just means we have uncovered, because of our increased awareness that we can get from meditation or yoga or being creative or whatever. But anyway, we've uncovered ultimate reality, which is wholeness, I would say, and we have aligned ourselves with it because of acceptance, trust, and the action that we feel inspired to take once we've reached that state of alignment. So I guess the question is, how is, stage 3, becoming aware of ultimate reality, different if it is to stage 7? And what's the link between ultimate reality and enlightenment in
Ha ha
relation to
ha.
wholeness, ideally.
O- Okay, okay. So many people mention this enlightenment in different ways. Some people
Mm.
even call some kind of like, please enlighten me, no? They
Yeah,
just
yeah.
first use this terminology for a simple thing, but it's quite okay. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so when you're talking about that aspect, we talk about things that are worldly and going
Mm.
beyond worldly situations.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
So because worldly things, whatever they are, how profound they seem, huh? So
Mm.
they
Mm.
they they are still worldly. So even
Yeah.
some concentrations we call the jhana, or
Mm.
some people in India, no, they call dhyana. Huh?
Mm.
So these
Mm.
are very, very powerful mind states, but still
Mm.
yet they are worldly. And you can take your
Mm.
mind to the subtler stages, like
Yeah.
say, for example, like perception or
Mm.
non-perception. You are in the
Mm.
middle of
Mm.
that. Huh? So
Yeah.
it is such a
Yeah.
subtle stage. You
Yeah.
go beyond all these things, but still that also belongs to worldly. Okay.
Mm.
So
Mm.
in true enlightenment, yeah, we can have this terminology of enlightenment in different aspects. So to get through the illusion uh, of this perceptional world, we have to
Mm.
go to the ultimate realities. Huh?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
like fighting the venom with the venom, no? You make
Mm.
anti-venom with the venom, right?
Yeah.
Then after that, you are cured, right?
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and in another aspect, we take things as whole. For
Mm.
example, these machines or tables or something.
Mm.
Okay, conceptually, this is a table. We cannot deny that. But
Mm.
if it is a table and exactly forever a table, it should
Mm.
stay a table, no? But before it was pieces of wood that gathered and made by a person or some machines or anything. And not only
Mm.
that, no, many things, glue, nails and trees, the
Mm.
forest, no, or the
Mm.
even the climates and the universe all got together in making a table, no, not just
Mm.
one. But
Mm.
if it was a table forever, then first also it should have been a table, not a tree,
Yeah.
no. And
Yeah.
then later also it cannot fade away, the colors cannot disappear. You
Mm.
cannot break it into
Mm.
pieces of wood. And
Mm.
if the
Mm.
pieces of wood were permanent,
Yeah.
you cannot break it or chop it or even make it a powder, no? But
Mm.
it is
Mm.
not. So
Mm.
anything that can be grounded, broken, and made it into a different way, it
Mm.
is not
Mm.
considered as ultimate reality.
Yes.
So that's why we are trying to seek the ultimate reality to actually
Yeah.
free ourselves of the delusion.
Yeah. Yeah. This is how I actually see things, right? So I think
Uh-huh.
the main problem in our lives is delusion or illusion, whatever word you want to use. But ultimately, for some underlying emotional reason, we attach to fragmented conceptual ideas about ourselves and the world and the way that we perceive reality. So it boils down to two different levels, two different ways that ultimate reality is veiled. And it's the veil of perception because of the way that our bodies perceive things, but then the veil of interpretation on top of that. And so if I understand you right, stage three of this map is when we start to become aware of that. We become aware that our perceptions are fragmented, our interpretations are fragmented, that the world is just an idea, a concept that can block the way that we experience truth because we internalize certain stories and so on from the world, and then they form the attachments that we pick up and all that kind of stuff. And then when we keep going all the way down the path and we get to level 7 or stage 7, where we become enlightened, ultimately what's gone on there is we have let go of our ideas about ourselves. We've let go of our ideas about the world and the way that those things cause us to hide from ourselves. And we basically get to this point where we transcend perception and ideas and interpretations, even if it's just for a moment. And I think we can call that samadhi as well, right? Those little moments where we taste that, where we feel totally connected to everything and we're in the flow and blah, 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 blah. And in those moments, we are just one with everything because ultimately the top of the mountain can only ever be wholeness. And when we're in a place of wholeness, all the fragmented things about us, like we just mentioned, our image of ourselves, our ego, the ideas, the ideologies, the labels, but it's all gone, and it's just one big system or one big relationship revealing itself to itself. Something like that.
Oh, okay, okay, very nice. So, Oleg, I'll tell you an ancient example. Huh? So,
Mm.
Oli, sorry, and so there was this speck of salt, no, and then it was right beside the sea.
Mm.
So then it was like because it seemed more solid than the seawater.
Mm.
So it was like
Mm.
telling, I'm so solid, I'm so white, I'm so strong, and you need me, no, for everything. You
Yeah.
need me for like cooking, maybe medicines.
Mm.
But it was right beside the sea, you know.
Mm.
So when
Mm.
the speck of salt,
Mm.
even if it's used for something, or if you
Yeah.
just leave it there, it will
Yeah.
dissolve at some point, right?
Mm. Mm.
Or it can get just crushed or anything, no? So
Mm.
some dust or something can come and wipe it off, no?
Mm.
So then what happens is the third stage is the time we realize, but this is done in a process,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, not only logically, because logics
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
turn truth into fake and fake
Of
into
course.
truth, no?
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
but
Hundred
we
percent.
need a logical mind,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
analytical mind, but it
Yeah.
is, there should be a practical aspect also.
Mm.
So this
Mm.
third stage is like this speck of salt really gets to know, okay,
Mm.
I am not what I proclaim all this
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
yet in reality I am a speck of salt, and it digs
Yeah.
deeper and to
Yeah.
know, hey, I was also part of the sea, I was also seawater before,
Mm.
though I for
Mm.
a small split in this universal time I look like this, I'm not.
Yeah.
Then in the seventh stage is the time you take this speck of salt,
Yeah.
and or six or five or six, it's the time you take this speck of salt and throw it back into the sea.
Yes.
And when this speck of salt really
Yeah.
dissolves in the sea or the oceans,
Yeah.
okay, like just like you say, the all the ocean water and everything will
Yeah.
be one. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
came back to its old form. But this is a world example. Huh?
Yeah.
So, but still we can use it. But this
Yeah.
is the stage that you really and you unite with everything.
Yeah. It makes
This can happen in stages. This can happen in levels, and
mm.
some like the speck of salt, like really dissolving. It can happen in the initial stages also.
Yeah.
So when
Yeah.
you go real, like full enlightenment, it is
Mm.
like uh, it is like the oceans also really
Mm.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you cannot
Yeah.
take anything as the ocean even.
Mm. Mm.
Let's get that
Y-
back to that later in the third question, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But ultimately, what we're saying, this journey is about going from the fragmented state where we think we're separate, we think we're disconnected, starting to wake up to the ways in which we are causing that sense of disconnection because of our perceptions and attachments and all that stuff. And then ultimately going back to the ocean in the analogy we just used, which is where we were all along. Like we're always in the ocean, we're always connected to it, but we just don't let ourselves dissolve. And it's in that dissolution where we can actually find freedom. That's what I found in my life, right? So using salt as an example, and what you said about dissolving is, it just makes perfect sense to me. So we'll get on to the third question in a second, but one thing I want to ask you is about these things that get in the way, because I think this process that we're talking about, it's an organic process. I think ultimately it's always unfolding, like always. Actually, we don't have to do anything consciously except stop resisting. But the problem is, because of our attachments to our ideas of ourselves and to worldly things and blah, 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 we stop ourselves returning to the ocean, which is what actually wants to happen. And this is why I think a lot of people have internal conflict, It's why we have to do things like be creative, because that's bringing up things we've been hiding from ourselves, so we can get back on track with the dissolution process, as I like to call it, and then return to the ocean and blah, blah, blah. So the things you mentioned that get in the way, you mentioned anger or hatred, I think you said as well, greed, delusion. Why do these things pop up in our experience to stop the natural flow back to wholeness, which is what we really want anyway, even though we don't
Huh.
know it sometimes?
Exactly. Yeah. So so this anger, greed, and delusion. So say the delusion is the coin.
Mm,
So
mm,
anger
mm.
and greed are like the both sides of the coin.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you toss it like heads or tails, but it's the same coin, no?
Mm,
So
mm,
and then we can see, even from normal things, the ego and all this hatred in the world and all, the greed,
mm,
power, all
mm,
these, rushes, even just in a family or even a work environment. You see, even within kids who are at school, they
mm,
are like racing to some goal, or like they want to put down the other and then climb the
yeah.
ladder, no?
Mm,
So
mm,
all the rat race and all this, even the wars and everything.
mm,
So but coming back to our life, so if a person really wants to go on the journey,
wow.
because these things, okay, for example, say a little child,
Mm,
uh, little child still is like a guest in the new
mm,
world, no?
mm,
But
mm,
why does this child, when he or she grows, they change, no?
yeah,
Why, for what reason? Uh, so innocent child who didn't know
yeah,
nothing at all, no
yeah,
race,
yeah,
no gender, even they didn't know what in the world it
yeah,
was, no,
yeah,
and or no
yeah,
politics, no
yeah, yeah, yeah.
views, no nothing, no, they didn't even know how to eat, right? For that matter,
Mm,
I'm just
mm,
telling
mm.
about a normal child, who
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah,
any
yeah.
disabilities or anything. But after some time, huh,
Mm, mm.
they train, then sometimes they can be the worst people in the whole wide world, right? Huh?
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
So likewise, so it is like a stream,
Mm,
a stream that has mud inside.
mm,
So then what happens is, when you are first born and all, uh, unless the times you are asleep, the water just flows and it looks clear. Huh?
mm, mm,
But when you take a stick and start poking the bottom of the stream, what
mm,
happens is the mud that is inside starts coming out,
mm,
and then
mm,
it how to say, makes the water also muddy.
mm,
Huh? And then
mm,
later on, the water that flows also, which was like
mm,
drinkable or washable or anything, now it's
mm.
muddy.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, yeah.
So in a way, because of the poking, the mud
Mm,
arose,
yeah.
as well as, not only because of the poking, if there was no mud inside,
Mm,
there would it won't be like muddy, no?
yeah, yeah.
So less like in our minds, when we came to this world, there was some deep rooted stuff. This is
Mm,
ego. Huh?
mm,
You can have the connection. That's why in like fourth level and all, you really have to check this and see for yourself.
yeah,
Then all these doubts and all, like, it is a real practical process. Huh?
yeah, 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 yeah.
That's why all your doubts can erase, not just because some religious leader or
Wow.
somebody told, no? So you
Yeah.
really get to see for yourself, nothing
Mm,
superficial. Huh?
yeah,
So
yeah.
then what happens is, from our parents, I'm not blaming nobody. This is
Mm,
what they knew.
mm,
And the first lesson we write, or the essay we write, is myself, which is okay, no?
mm,
Uh,
mm,
so
mm.
we have to write, my name is such, no? My name is
Yeah,
like this. My
yeah,
my,
yeah,
my
yeah.
mother, father, my toys are these, no? I
Mm,
live in this address. So as a tiny kid, whichever language we write these, right?
mm,
So first
mm.
we don't even know our name, no, like a
Yeah,
little puppy
yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
something.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
later, I remember you had to put this big board and like with your name, no, like a name tag. But still,
Mm,
you don't know it is for you, right?
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then,
You're right.
like a little puppy also, no, or a cat or
Yeah,
anything. First, you call its name, it doesn't even care.
yeah,
But
you're right.
later, it knows, like, and then when you say like bad puppy or good puppy, it
Mm,
reacts, no. So
yeah,
likewise, what
yeah,
happens is,
yeah.
like, our name, so from the
Wow.
things we hear, the things we see, even taste, feel, all these things, it pokes into the mud that we
Yeah,
already carried.
yeah,
Huh? So then what happens is later the factors like ego, then the
Mm.
likes and the dislikes, like some children like the milk, no? When they are
Yeah.
fed some medicine, so they just put it out like a
Mm.
natural reaction, no?
Mm.
But later
Mm.
they say, oh, can I have some of those? I don't
Yeah.
want this.
Yeah.
Later it goes bigger and bigger and bigger, no? For
Yeah.
example, think
Yeah.
of a dying person. In the past, we saw many people with corona and all, no? Yeah.
Mm.
So they would just want to breathe.
Yeah.
But after some time, maybe they would ask, can I have some water?
Mm.
These are the main basics, right? But later
Mm.
on, oh, I could eat something for something. Can I have something
Yeah.
to eat?
Yeah.
Then later, that doesn't satisfy a person, no? They want
Mm.
something more, no, something. Can I have something more nicer to drink? Can I have something
Mm.
more nicer to
Yeah.
eat? Huh?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the thing happens is like these are deep rooted stuff, like
Mm.
in our hard drives. These are
Yeah.
like computer viruses, and when they are triggered, they start popping up. So that's why
Yeah.
in a later part of the life, usually
Mm.
after about 5 years or so, like things start that's why these little children knows you can see their characteristics.
Mm.
They seem different. Even two twins, you
Yeah.
can see they look, some twins look very familiar, no? Or like they look familiar means like they look close to each other, no, in the features and all.
Mm. Mm.
But like their characters are totally different. There are some
Yeah.
Sammy's twins, like they think uh, totally differently, no? They are combined also.
Yeah.
Uh, so
Mm.
likewise, what happens is this mud, or like especially the ignorance is the biggest thing. It is like a blinder that
Mm.
covers our eyes. So
Mm.
because of this, our egos and angers and all, or even a person can be taken to the worst of scenarios,
Mm.
worst of
Mm.
situation. They
Mm.
all these things like they would never think of doing can be done because of
Yeah.
this ignorance
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
name of anything. Huh?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then later what happens, the greed comes or the anger comes, and they
Mm.
play their part, and
Yeah.
then it branches into various things. It could be jealousy, it could be
Yeah.
hatred,
Yeah.
anything. And then the
Yeah.
greed also, from the smallest of likes to lust, and it
Mm.
can become like very creepy or any kind of situation.
Yeah. 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 All those things, they come down to the ego, I think, and it's exactly what you said. When we're kids, we're just connected to life initially. We don't know,
Uh-huh.
we don't have a concept really of who we are, and then the world gives us this label, which is our name, and it just fills it with all kinds of ideas, all kinds of expectations, all kinds of attachments. Then something comes along that creates an emotional detachment from ourselves. So it's normally shame or guilt, trauma in really bad cases. That causes us to attach to the ego even more as a protective device. And then that's when we start attaching to all these worldly things. We think that the things in the world are going to fill us, basically. They're going to fill the void inside that comes from being detached. But actually, every time we chase worldly things, when motivated by ego, we're just making the problem worse. And so, actually, the solution, I think, to moving down the path to level 7 is to just learn to let go. We let go of any attachment that we have, which is it's difficult to do, obviously, and that's why people like you meditate for 20 years. But that is ultimately what it boils down to. So if that's true, and we are getting towards the end of the conversation, so if you could sum all this up based on what I just said, how does everything we've said basically in this conversation tell us or point us in the direction of what enlightenment actually is when we step away from all these attachments and concepts and everything like that? So I guess what I'm asking you for is final words of wisdom about this whole conversation in relation to pointing people towards enlightenment based on what you've learned going through all this stuff that you share.
Okay. So we should know, like in a way, like talking about the child, we were kind of conditioned
Yeah.
in a way, like we were said this is what you should do,
Yeah.
this is the pattern. Some are good, some are good, and this is the things that should be done. But most of the things we do bring us like lot of. It doesn't bring us permanent happiness, permanent peace. So we don't have to change many of the things we are doing now. Maybe the bad things that really hurt yourself and the others. Uh, but within that frame, let us try to seek uh, more permanent happiness, not relying on anything, not relying on some drugs or some kind of external thing. Because when the external thing collapses, our happiness and peace definitely will collapse with that. And if
Yeah.
you are relying totally 100% on your mind also, or definitely the external things of materialistic things, when they collapse, or definitely the how to say things, shadowy things like fame and fortune and all these things, when they collapse,
Yeah.
you will definitely collapse, or
Yeah.
you cannot
Yeah.
take to a next birth, or if you believe in one, no. So let us try. That's why we seek ultimate reality. So for the question you asked about enlightenment and ultimate reality and all, if you want to catch a person, uh, you should not try to catch the shadow, no. This is like the conceptual reality. You should really
Wow.
try to catch the real person. Or if
Yeah.
you are trying to cure or treat or do something nice for a person, you should not, it's not used to take care of the shadow, right? So that's what has happened to now
Yeah.
meditation also. That's why we don't see proper results. Huh?
Wow.
So in some stage, we all have that capability and capacity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't matter from which religion or whatever background you come from, we
Yeah.
can seek. One time I remember there was a person who was like really trying to argue with me, but I had no intention of arguing. So
Yeah.
finally, this person was like crying, and I asked whether it was
Wow.
so boring, no? But no, no, no. This person said like, I never heard this. I said,
Yeah.
you can search for this, right?
Yeah.
Then this person said, we are not allowed. I
Wow.
wouldn't say which religion or anything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I said, you can think these things, right? Yeah,
Mm.
because
Mm.
this is your life, right? And then
Wow.
this person said, no, we are not allowed to think even. So,
Mm.
so come
Mm.
on, we are humans and we are intelligent beings,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then let us all see something different. This
Yeah.
ultimate reality, and it's very simple solutions for many
Wow.
things, and
Yeah.
let us spread and bring back like things like loving kindness, kindness,
Mm.
peace, compassion, unity.
Yeah.
These
Yeah.
are very wholesome things. It's not something you get after death, no. Like some
Mm.
people say, rest in peace, no. So but why can you not live in peace, right? Do we
Mm.
have to kill ourselves and then rest in peace? No, right? You
Wow.
can rest in peace for sure, but why not live in peace, no? You're with
Yeah.
yourself and the
Wow.
others. And there are so many positive. And just like Ollie, what you asked, when the defilements or these dark things or any like greed, delusion, greed, and hatred disappears, it is not a vacuum. Huh?
Mm.
This space or it is not a void. This will
Mm.
be covered with things like wisdom,
Yeah.
true kindness, true
Yeah.
compassion, true unity, all these positive things.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
later at some stage, you will understand you can even go beyond this worldly situation. You
Mm.
see the
Mm.
very most subtlest stages, and then you can free even your mind. This is the actually the stage
Yeah.
your mind
Yeah.
actually stops. So this is
Yeah.
called nirvana.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and then there will be a time like you can be totally free from physicality as well as mentality. And
Mm.
even after death, you can be in, it is not a person or a thing or anything, not even a mind that goes
It's
to
an.
that stage.
Yeah.
It's mentioned as a stage, but
Mm.
it is like happiness forever. It
Yeah.
is peace forever. So, but
Yeah.
it's beyond all worldly. We have to explain it with worldly examples, but
Yeah.
there is a stage that is what like people seek as enlightenment in proper
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Like all of this, it's about stepping away from concepts. Like even when we relate to ourselves, step away from the concept of who we are. When we argue with other people, we're not arguing with who they really are, their realness. We're arguing with our ideas about them projected out. And in relation to life itself, it's the same thing. So that's all amazing. I think I need to start meditating again more than 3 times a year. Sanji, if people want to find you, what's your website and all that kind of stuff? Like, where can they go
Oh,
learn about your work?
now this name Sanjivana is like in many places on the web. So if you just type this or Google it, and we
You'll
start
pop
like
up.
yeah, I think I'll pop up. Hopefully, yeah. And because this is like now this name is also put on to me, and this all the things like came up with that, like
Mhm.
social media and all, and we have like this with the same name, but it's not self propaganda or something.
Right.
Some guys said like you have to bring your name of your the meaning of your name. Sorry.
Yeah.
So the Sanjivana means revival. So we want to do
Wow.
like help
Revival.
people. So
Yeah.
like bring no because life gives everybody a second chance or third, fourth, fifth maybe. So if
Mm-hmm.
we can help or in even with a word or action, that's a
Mm.
huge thing, no? So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why this Sanjeevana thing came. So sanjeevana.com, Sanjeevana here, there. So
Okay. Well, I'll share a link in the show notes. But Sanji, thank you so much for coming on here today.
oh,
This has been a really good conversation, and I really appreciate it. So thank you so much.
oh, you're most welcome, Ollie. And it was a great pleasure. And thank you very much for having me here.